President Yoon Suk Yeol returned home from a week-long diplomatic trip to France and Vietnam. He also made a speech to boost South Korea's chances of hosting the 2030 World Expo. Our top office correspondent Oh Soo-young, who traveled with the president, joins us in the studio today to share the highlights. Good morning, Sooyoung.
Hi, Dami.
So, Sooyoung, let's start with President Yoon's economic diplomacy, a major feature of his trip, right? There were at least seven economic events, right?
You're exactly right. 7 events in the space of 6 days, a very packed schedule. And these were, there were quite a large number of business and trade events, as you said, particularly in Vietnam, where President Yoon was traveling with his biggest ever business delegation. That's his 205 corporate leaders, including the heads of Samsung, SK Hynix, LG, Lotte, among others. And well, first in France, Yoon and his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron during their summit agreed to increase cooperation in key high-tech industries such as space and aviation. At a separate business event, Yoon reaped something like $940 million in investment pledges for Korean firms. And that brought South Korea's foreign investment in the first half of this year to a record high of $16.5 billion. So a massive feat there. As for Vietnam, which is South Korea's third largest trading partner, Seoul signed nearly a dozen deals to make establishing and facilitating business easier for both sides, with MOUs on work permits, certificates of origin, driver's licenses. Those were all signed. But what I want to really stress here is going beyond simple trade and investment ties. The two countries agreed to set up a mineral supply chain center, and that's to help Seoul secure rare minerals that are crucial for latest digital technologies. So that was an impressive feat there. The two countries also agreed to work together on building smart cities and green energy infrastructure, as well as cooperation on sustainable development in Vietnam.
Right, and also on the diplomatic front, it looks like South Korea is trying to increase its network of partner countries. Then why are France and Vietnam so significant?
That's a really good question, Tammy. Well, as you said, multilateralism has been a key feature of South Korea's diplomacy. Ever since G7, it was quite clear that Seoul really wished to extend its reach beyond the usual 4 countries, which were the United States, Japan, China, and Russia. And this is to overcome shared challenges in areas such as security, economic uncertainty, the climate, and also digital transformation. And well, particularly during this time of very intense US-China rivalry, multilateralism can really help avoid a zero-sum game situation.
Korea's global outreach should cover a wide range of countries, including core middle power countries that have high visibility in global affairs. European Union carries substantial importance, especially with the global governance agenda such as international law, climate change, as well as multilateral diplomacy. The European Union also considers seriously about the China issues, but has shown more inclusive stance toward the region. It also highlights the multilateral engagement with China as well.
And in this regard, strengthening ties with France along with Germany a month ago, that was a very important move as they are both very much heavyweight countries in the EU. The same goes for Vietnam, really. Yoon said that he hopes that Seoul and Hanoi's ties will be a gateway for stronger relations with the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, otherwise known as ASEAN.
First, from the market-based perspective, Vietnam is a growing market largely made up of young people who are considered the early adopters in ASEAN. Secondly, as a production base, Vietnam is important, providing cost-effective manpower. Also, the strategic positioning of Vietnam is also crucial to engaging ASEAN, as Vietnam shares cultural similarities with Korea, also having Confucian roots.
The 11-member bloc has huge economic potential as one of the fastest growing areas in the world, but it's also riddled with regional tensions and developmental challenges that make its growth, that make sustainable and equitable growth rather difficult. And that's where South Korea could step in with collaboration. It could be a win-win solution for both sides to balance things out for ASEAN's population of over 666 million.
Actually, South Korea has been pitching itself as a partner for development, with President Yoon Suk Yeol himself joining the bidding presentation for the 2030 World Expo in Paris, right? That was another highlight of his trip. Then how do Busan's chances look at the moment?
Well, I can certainly say that South Korea's pitch really stood out, obviously, with the presidential edge and also the power of K-pop, as artists like Psy and aespa's Karina were part of the presentation. South Korea's top conglomerate leaders, they were also doing their part, sharing how South Korea can contribute its own developmental experience over the last 20, 30 years and high-tech solutions to the world to build a brighter future for all world citizens. And given the positive reactions that were seen to that, these collaborative bidding efforts, experts say that this itself is worthy of celebration. Professor Lee, who we just heard from, said that whether or not Korea wins the bid in November, the process itself, the journey was significant.
A lot of global citizens and the government officers are listening and seeing what the leading Korean companies are doing, what kind of solution they are providing to the world citizen, and what kind of picture of the Korea's future will be shown. And I think that is another, the season 2 of Korea's global wave.
Really, so to wrap up, I think President Yoon's 6-day trip, it was really about opening up these gateways to Korea's growing trade and also multilateral diplomacy, really as President Yoon tries to make South Korea a global pivotal state.
Right, his efforts will undoubtedly continue. Thank you so much for your reporting throughout the trip. I hope you're not too jet lagged.
Oh, thank you, Tammy.